One of the most rewarding sights in video games is witnessing a structure collapse or, at the very least, having one of its walls blown through. But regrettably, it only appears in scripted set pieces or cutscenes. It's fine if it happens in a predetermined way, but it's much better when it happens spontaneously as you play. As a shell fired by a powerful tank should be able to breach the wall of a typical house, it gives the setting a more realistic sense. It's true that not all game settings that may be destroyed are realistic. For example, some games include 2 readily breakable structures, but even then, it's entertaining to watch them tumble. So without further ado, let's jump right into the video to learn more about these 15 games featuring mind-boggling destructible environments. Before we go into our explanation, we have a very small request. If you like our content, please support us by subscribing to our channel. This is a small click for you, but for us, it means a lot. Thank you, and let's begin. Red Faction Guerrilla. One of the recurring themes in the Red Faction series is destructible surroundings. Every structure and barricade in this post appears to be flimsy since a car may pass right through them. However, you can destroy a structure with your sledgehammer or explosives if you don't feel like driving. The destruction, however, has become increasingly more amazing with time. Hitting its apex in Red Faction Guerrilla, not all of the games focus on destruction. They also provide gripping narratives and crisp shooting action. Additionally, they frequently occur in intriguing settings. The game takes place in the year 2125, where Red Faction's major adversaries are now the Earth Defense Force EDF, who were once partners with them. Although initially in favor of the Martian miners, Earth has run out of natural resources, which has caused its economy to collapse due to excessive commodity speculation and a lack of output. The EDF has compelled Martian society into a perpetual state of forced labor under pressure from Earth's companies and leaders to get the resources of Mars at any cost and at a rate to match Earth's enormous demand. The newly created Red Faction strives to overthrow the EDF, expel them from the planet, and start more equitable negotiations with Earth. On all platforms, the game earned generally positive reviews from critics, despite some criticism for its lackluster plot. TEARDOWN. Nearly everything in the game TEARDOWN can be destroyed, including automobiles and structures. And in order to achieve your goal, you always have to break something. For instance, when the objective is to steal something, you must scale barriers in order to get to it because you play as the most blatant thief ever. Additionally, every once in a while, you're given a task of destroying something, perhaps even an entire structure. Of course, using only your hands won't cut through masonry and wood. There are several tools at your disposal that might cause some harm, but frequently, smashing a car into anything gets the job done. However, you want to avoid damaging the items too much because you only have a minute to escape at the conclusion of each level. Therefore, try to maintain the route you set on. The player character in TEARDOWN receives emails that are mostly used to tell the game's plot. The player plays as the nameless proprietor of Lockhell TEARDOWN Services, and the game is set in the fictional Lockhell municipality. Due to a lack of customers, the business is having financial difficulties. So, the owner accepts a questionable contract from Gordon Wu, who asks that an old building be demolished overnight so that his ever-tied mall may be built. The owner's mother, Tracy, warns them the day following the destruction that the demolished structure was protected as a cultural landmark and that a traffic camera had seen the business vehicle accessing the site. Marisa Terdeman, a criminal investigator with the Lockhell Police Department, agrees to drop the case if Lawrence Lee Jr. and his business, Lee Chemicals, are the subject of an examination by the owner. To get information about an enigmatic customer, the owner routinely breaks into the Lee Chemicals building and leaves private properties on her instructions. Rampage game franchise. The idea behind the game is that players take control of enormous creatures who wander the globe and destroy everything in their path. Monsters have the ability to destroy automobiles, consume people, jump, climb, and crush structures. The 3 most prevalent monsters over the years have been Ralph the Werewolf, Lizzie the Lizard, and George the Gorilla. In the late 1980s, Midway's Rampage series swept arcades by storm, giving players a chance to trample through different cities across the globe and obliterate them with enormous creatures. It was the type of rudimentary button-mashing entertainment that would have been popular in a simpler era. It was a game made deliberately to provide mindless enjoyment and keep you putting in quarters. Giant monsters rampage across cities, destroying every structure in their path, so they may move on to the next block and repeat the process. Between 4 and 10 buildings make up each block, and as you're breaking them down, police officers, SWAT team members, and other military personnel will chase you down with rifles, helicopters, tanks, and other structure-heavy equipment. While the game isn't at all enjoyable for single players, there is enough multiplayer action to spice up the proceedings. The main campaign mode may be played collaboratively by up to 2 players, but the GameCube additionally has King of the City and King of the World variants that can accommodate up to 4 players each. Minecraft. Destructible structures are often a nice feature, but in Minecraft, they're more bothersome than anything else. This is so because construction is the main focus of Minecraft. Therefore, you may invest a lot of time gathering materials and constructing homes just for an explosion to ruin all your labor. A creeper that is stumbling about may do so, or another deadly group might wreak havoc. Alternatively, one of your friends might cause harm with a TNT block. However, demolition may be entertaining if your building isn't being destroyed. You can burn down a building without even explosives by using a flint and steel or a bucket of lava. Since its debut in 2011, players have been venturing around Minecraft's enormous, randomly created worlds. With only their shirts on, players spawn into the environment and must gather materials to build equipment if they want to live. Until they create a safe stronghold to call home, players are always in grave peril from recognizable foes like the Enderman and Creeper, and a night filled with zombies and skeletons. While staying alive is the main goal of Minecraft, some players might be curious about the history of the planet and how it got to be such an unforgiving place to live. The planet seeds in Minecraft are excellent for stimulating the imagination. The only other creatures that resemble humans in any way are the villagers, who occupy the various towns on the map at random. Even still, they appear to be illiterate in all known languages, speaking only in grunts and whimpers. Players may conclude from this that the world of Minecraft experienced some sort of widespread, terrible catastrophe that destroyed human civilization and gave rise to the wicked monsters that lurk in the shadows.
Choppers are inbound. Repeat, choppers are inbound.
Just Cause game franchise. In Just Cause's open world playground, performing all of the insane stunts is a terrific way to kill time. But you know what else is very entertaining? Blowing a hole. The landscapes can be completely destroyed with a few well-placed C4 explosives. You can destroy houses and trees all around the island in Just Cause 2, but you may also be really inventive in your lust for devastation. Hang around near airports and airstrips and then experiment with flying and sticky bombs. It's simple to get a ride on a jet plane, attach a dozen explosives to the hull, leap out, and watch the fireworks since you can essentially hang on to any vehicle. Perhaps you would want to get a bird's eye view of an enemy base you just set off a load of C4 charges on. There are countless options. Just Cause starts in 2006 with Rico Rodriguez, an agent for a group known only as the Agency, being dropped into the Caribbean island nation of San Espirito to meet up with Tom Sheldon, his mentor and agency superior, and aid in the overthrowing of President Salvador Mendoza, who the agency suspects of having access to WMDs. After arriving, Rico meets Sheldon and fellow spy Maria Kane. Together they join up with a guerrilla group mounting a revolt against Mendoza and the Rioja drug cartel, which has expanded its activities throughout San Espirito by taking advantage of the corruption of the state. Hulk Ultimate Destruction. It isn't easy to think that a PS2 era game could let you destroy a whole city, but wow. If any game has the power to transform you into the Hulk, it is this one. You now have the mobility you would expect from being with limitless power, and thanks to Hulk Ultimate Destruction, you can wreak havoc on the whole city with punches that can topple buildings and ground pounds that can cause earthquakes. The ability to control the automobiles you see on the streets have to be the coolest devastation in Hulk. You may certainly pick them up and throw them about, but you can also use the pieces of metal to improve your skills. An automobile may be picked up by the Hulk, torn in two, and the two halves used as boxing gloves. Scientist Bruce Banner has spent years working in semi-isolation on a potential treatment for a condition that causes him to turn into the Hulk under stress or rage. By modifying his subconscious and repairing psychological damage caused by childhood trauma, he has developed an experimental technology that he hopes can control the Hulk, as well as another more dangerous personality that is beginning to emerge within him. While working with psychiatrist Dr. Leonard Samson, Banner almost completes the gadget before Emil Blonsky's armed men demolish his forested stronghold. Blonsky steals the gadget from the remnants of the bunker and is exposed to gamma rays as Banner flees as the Hulk. Samson helps Banner reassemble by giving him a gadget that implants post-hypnotic ideas and intentionally triggers anger attacks, giving them some measure of control over the Hulks.
Someone worth dying for.
Star Wars: The Force Unleashed. The gameplay in The Secret of Darth Vader's Apprentice wasn't the most well-polished we've seen in a Star Wars game, but it did a couple of things well, like making a player feel like a complete Force-wielding badass. Yes, the Apprentice can use the Force to smash AT-STs with his thoughts and rip Star Destroyers from the sky, but the Force Unleashed destructible environments are where you'll have the most fun. For the evil Jedi, stormtroopers and other Force fodder henchmen are easy prey. Even more interesting than using a lightsaber to take them out is throwing them around with your thoughts, and it's fascinating to see how the surroundings respond. You may toss a piece of wreckage to soldiers to see them ragdoll across the screen if you're on a spaceship, shatter a window to watch foes being pulled out into space, or just shove troops into a wall to see the metals bend and circuits blow. Never before has using the Force been so much fun. Soon after the Galactic Empire came into power, Imperial agents discovered Kento Marek, a Jedi who survived the Great Purge on Kashyyyk. As the planet is conquered, Darth Vader comes and destroys any Wookiee resistance standing between him and the runaway Jedi. When Vader gets to Kento's house, he easily defeats him in a lightsaber fight but feels the presence of someone far more powerful. Vader is about to kill the rebel Jedi, initially thinking it is Kento's Jedi Master, but Galen, Kento's son, abruptly pulls Vader's lightsaber from his grasp. Vader kills Kento and an Imperial squadron as they attempt to murder Galen because he senses the youngster's powerful connection to the Force. He then covertly accepts the boy as his apprentice, with only a small group of people being aware of him. Battlefield 4. The breakable landscapes in Battlefield games are undoubtedly the most well-known, and the series has obviously improved on this feature over time. You can only destroy items like minor bridges in the early stages. The ability to blast enormous holes in walls didn't appear for some years. Battlefield 4 ups the ante even more by introducing Levolutions, though. These major acts of destruction change the map while you're still playing and take place during rounds. Some of these are particularly amazing, since you can watch entire skyscrapers fall. Battlefield is unique among other well-known first-person shooters due to the extent of devastation it allows. The single-player campaign of Battlefield 4 is set 6 years after the events of its predecessor in the fictitious War of 2020. Due to a battle between the two nations that has lasted for the past 6 years, tensions between Russia and the United States are at an all-time high.
In the event of a Chinese military coup, the Russians would be loyal to Admiral Chang.
That confirms the report from our asset in China.
So Staff Sergeant Dunn was killed for something we already knew?
Additionally, the major adversary, Admiral Chang's ambitions to topple the Chinese government, has brought China to the verge of war. If Chang is successful, the Russians will back him wholeheartedly and assist in starting a conflict between China and the United States. The player takes charge of Sergeant Daniel Wrecker, second in command of the Tombstone U.S. Marine Corps unit. Far Cry 2. Some games are willing to let you launch rockets at jeeps or blow up buildings. Now that's cool and all. In most cases, explosions are used to destroy a destructible area completely. But in games, fire, the ultimate agent of destruction, never quite lives up to its potential. Typically, it only occupies a single space and is enclosed by intangible walls. If you're stupid enough to stand in it, it may injure you. Far Cry 2 is an exception to that rule. You see, if you use a flamethrower on a field of dry grass in real life, you can bet your bottom dollar that the field will catch fire. Fire is made to operate as it should in Far Cry 2. A Molotov may be thrown into a field and watched as the flames spread realistically, giving the user a variety of tactical possibilities for dodging threats or even setting them ablaze. Even if it is a different type of devastation, it is still wonderful. A civil war between the United Front for Liberation and Labor and the Alliance for Popular Resistance, two political factions of the rebel forces, is raging in the wake of an uprising against the previous administration of an unnamed East African country. Even though they all assert to speak for the people, they all treat civilians with brutality and spare no chance of exploiting them. The Jackal, an arms dealer who distributes effective low-cost weaponry to both sides in contravention of a joint signatory framework intended to halt the war from growing, is making things worse. A member of a group of mercenaries sent into the nation to murder the Jackal is the protagonist.
Eyes on target. Got a visual.
CRYSIS 2. A great example of a game that excels at small-scale devastation is CRYSIS 2. You won't be revolutionizing any buildings or anything, but you may demolish almost anything to provide realistic environmental warfare damage in urban settings. When pillars are shot, chunks of concrete fly off, grenades leave craters in the ground, and trees shatter where the bullet hits. The gamer can shoot something by approaching it directly, and as you keep firing a torrent of bullets at it, there's a good chance it may dissolve, explode, or fall apart. Environmental deterioration does a fantastic job of reinforcing a world's reality without needing to be overtly grandiose, as CRYSIS 2 demonstrates. 3 years after the events of the original game, in 2023, CRYSIS 2 is set in a damaged New York City that has since been evacuated owing to an alien invasion. News video at the start of the game shows a widespread epidemic of the Manhattan virus, a horrifying illness that causes total cell death, societal unrest, and fear of an alien incursion by the Ceph, the tentacled octopus-like alien race responsible for the incident in the first game, CRYSIS. Manhattan is under martial rule as a result of the collapse in the social order in New York City, and troops from CryNet Enforcement and Local Logistics, a private military contractor managed by the CryNet business that the U.S. Department of Defense employs, are in charge of maintaining order. Mercenaries 2. Mercenaries 2 is the best option if you've ever desired to wreak complete mayhem on an open-world metropolis. The game itself could be better, but the devastation is top-notch. So you receive a standard arsenal of explosives that may be used to damage billboards, cars, and small structures, such as rocket launchers, grenades, and C4 bricks. These portable explosives are small time in Mercenaries. You can climb inside a heavily armed military truck if you want to be truly destructive. A city may be entirely destroyed by tanks and helicopters with rocket launches. Nothing can obstruct your path. With the explosion from your tank's gun, you can steamroll anything that can fit beneath your tank treads, which tears through concrete. There is essentially no limit to the devastating power you can wield, from rocket barrages capable of destroying whole skyscrapers to a full-on nuclear weapon. The mercenary and their technical support advisor, Fiona Taylor, depart executive operations after the Second Korean War to pursue solo employment. 3 years later, Blanco, a Liberian whom the mercenary had worked with in Dakar, refers the mercenary to an assignment in Venezuela. Ramon Solano, a multi-millionaire software entrepreneur with links to drug trafficking, is introduced to them by Blanco. Solano had persuaded General Carlos Carmona and a sizable chunk of the Venezuelan army to topple the government using his contacts. General Carmona was later taken prisoner by loyalist army elements, which prompted Solano to employ the mercenary to free him. Destroy All Humans. In Destroy All Humans, you take on the role of an extraterrestrial that travels to Earth in order to collect human DNA for his own race. Although it doesn't directly help with the goal, the game nonetheless allows you to destroy structures. In this open-world action game, you may blow up anything from little barns to important government buildings, so no structure is safe. You accomplish this by utilizing your luxurious spacecraft's cutting-edge weapons. One of the weapons is a laser so strong it can obliterate buildings in an instant. The majority of the games are set on Earth, where the Furon cryptosporidium, commonly known as Crypto, has been given the duty by his superiors to collect Furon DNA that has been hidden inside human brain stems in order to prevent his race from replicating itself to extinction. Investigating what happened to Crypto's prior clone is one of Crypto's goals in Destroy All Humans. Whereas in Destroy All Humans 2, Crypto is seeking retribution after the KGB attempted to murder him and succeeded in destroying the mothership. His mission officer, Orthopox-13, Pox and eradicating the Blisk, a foe of the Furons from the Martian War. 7 Days to Die. The objective of this horror game is to survive, and zombies pose the biggest threat to your health. Even during the day, these zombies may be hazardous, but at night, they become even more so. Fortunately, the game lets you construct buildings or hide inside those that are already there. You have a fair chance of surviving for a while if you also build some effective defenses. Your defenses aren't impregnable, though. If they get enough blows, zombies are able to knock down walls and doors. And as a result, in this instance, the presence of destructible unpredictable surroundings heightens the intensity of the action, because you can never be completely secure. The events of the game take place after a nuclear Third World War that virtually devastated much of the planet, with the exception of a few places like the fictional county of Navesgain, Arizona. The player controls a war survivor who must locate shelter, food, and water, as well as scavenge materials to fend against the countless zombies who occupy Navesgain, hinted to be the result of nuclear fallout or a new strain of virus, or both. Although the only actual purpose at present is to survive, the makers promised a compelling plot in the Kickstarter and stretch goals. Earth Defense Force series. One thing is clear about the Earth Defense Force games, which are renowned third-person shooters. You're entrusted with protecting your home planet against a variety of intriguing and frightening animals. Each game features an enormous alien invasion. When enigmatic messages from deep space were decrypted in 2013, scientists learned that the Earth would soon receive visitors. After several fruitless attempts to get in touch with the source of the transmission signals, it was decided to establish the Earth Defense Force, or EDF, as a backup plan in 2015. Aliens known as the Ravagers swarmed and invaded Earth in 2017 in an effort to conquer it. The Earth Defense Force was mobilized because fate had arrived, but on July 12, 2019, the invaders arrived once more. The big conflict of 2017 took place 2 years ago. Ironically, the city was being rebuilt at an astounding pace, using the same tools as the invaders after being put out of business. The EDF was back in operation and prepared to maintain world peace. Breach, which has the world's most destructible battlefield as its marketing slogan, unexpectedly lives up to the boast. Heck, even the title refers to detonating things. However, the quantity of objects you can destroy to a pile of rubble and how you can do it makes up for the game's lack of AAA quality. Breach prioritizes destruction throughout the gameplay. Nearly any building may be torn apart, structural supports can be blown out from below buildings, and shelter can dissolve under intense fire. But Breach's destruction is perhaps most astounding for its accuracy in tearing apart the game landscape. Smaller explosives like grenades will blow out a smaller hole than breaching charges, which will shatter a wall into pieces. Even further, you can shoot off individual bricks to make your own nefarious peepholes. The game had 5 maps when it was first launched. Once the Breach community accomplished specific objectives, another free map would be made available, according to Atomic Games. Convoy, Infiltration, Retrieval, and Team Deathmatch are the 4 game modes. There are 5 classes in the game. All players have access to the Sniper, Gunner, Support, and Rifleman classes, and if they've mastered 2 of the other 3, they may unlock the Recon class. With the help of the XP system in Breach, users may buy tools like remote motion sensors and bionic ears. Additionally, perks are available that let you change your class. Up to 16 players can participate in one multiplayer game at a time.
Where is she?
Obey me, or she dies, apprentice.
Marvelous verdict. The games featured in this video are pretty fun irrespective of the destructible environments. Being able to destroy things, knock an enemy's feet right off the ground, or bring down a tower brings up a whole new realm of imaginative gameplay and priceless moments. Once you begin blowing holes in walls, you won't want to stop since everything else seems so constricted. So we urge you to try these out and let us know about your experience. If you liked our content, don't forget to leave a like and subscribe to us if you haven't already. Have a good one and be safe. Thanks, everyone.